And there was this Australian fire in 2019, 2020, right there in the end of December. And that smoke went up to 30 kilometers. So this has been predicted by models of what's called nuclear winter for decades, but never observed until very recently. Anyway, so this smoke would rise very high and go global. It would be globally distributed. Probably within a month, it would be all the way to Antarctica. And this is where you really have problems, because the amount of smoke that we think would be produced by burning the cities in Russia and the United States and Europe is enough to basically reduce sunlight at the surface by about 70%.
And this is you said nuclear winter.
Right. So you reduce sunlight by 70%, and the temperatures would drop within weeks below freezing. And in the models that we've used, it doesn't get above freezing in places like Iowa or the Ukraine, which are breadbaskets of the world, for a couple of years. So you're not going to grow anything in the normal growing regions for several years. There can just be snow on the ground and freezing temperatures for years on end.
So I was saying in regards to nuclear winter, we got into the ground zero deaths, but non-ground zero deaths, which you were describing. You wrote a paper with Alan Robach called Self-Assured Destruction, the Climate Impacts of Nuclear War. And you said modern climate models not only show that nuclear winter theory is correct, but also that the effects would last for more than a decade because of an unexpected phenomenon, which is smoke. So when scientists like yourself, they talk about not only the millions of people at risk from ground zero, but non-ground zero deaths, this would mainly come from the smoke accumulation and then the smoke rising above the stratosphere and changing the entire globe, like transportation, energy, agriculture, things like that, like billions of people literally at risk.
Right. So one contrast you can make is that an American Ohio-class submarine carries about 96 Trident missiles. And each of those missiles has multiple warheads that are more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. So one submarine has about 1,000 times the destructive potential of the Hiroshima bomb. So 100,000 people got killed by the Hiroshima bomb, roughly. And so that implies 100 million people could get killed by the missiles on one submarine by the direct effect of the explosions and the radiation. So that's what the military considers to be the damage that would be done by that one submarine. It's 100 million people. That's, of course, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's just that's direct. You said that's not even including the aftermath with nuclear winter.
Right. So that's called assured destruction by the military, meaning they have a lot of confidence that those effects actually occur and would kill people. However, the nuclear winter, which the military thinks of as collateral damage, meaning it's not their fault, wasn't what they planned. They planned assured destruction. Collateral damage is, oh, well, that happened. We weren't really thinking about that. Too bad.
Yeah.
And so in nuclear winter, we have some new calculations we're working on. They're just about to publish, in which we evaluated for every country in the world the agricultural losses that would occur because of the climate changes from the smoke. So the smoke blocks sunlight. It gets cold. Plants don't like it when it's below freezing, and they don't like it when there's not very much sunlight either. And so you can compute with agricultural models what the effect of this would be on all these different countries. And some countries are affected very badly by this kind of thing, like Russia, for example, because it's at a high latitude. It's already pretty cold. And this makes it worse. At any rate, what we find is that a war between India and Pakistan, now we're talking countries with maybe 250 50 nuclear weapons each in the middle of this decade.
So these are considered smaller nuclear powers, India and Pakistan.
A much smaller nuclear power, India and Pakistan. That India and Pakistan, depending on the yield of their weapons, which we don't know because there's no treaties controlling them, we think that they could kill between 1 and 3 billion people.
Jesus. So that's a, I use the term local or regional nuclear war, but obviously it's not local or regional because it affects the entire globe. But so just a regional, quote unquote, nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan that has the potential to kill up to 3 billion people. That's wild.
That's right. That's wild. And a war between the United States, Europe, and Russia, we think could kill in the range of 5 or 6 billion people, which is most of the population on the planet. So there'd just be mass starvation is what's happening. The agriculture fails and people starve. And people don't realize the amount of food on the planet. There's a story in the Bible, which is also a story in the Quran, in which Joseph, who's kind of a troublemaker, is in prison in Egypt. He didn't come from Egypt, came from another country. Anyway, he's in jail there, and the Pharaoh is having bad dreams. So the Pharaoh's dreaming about 7 fat cows and 7 sick cows, and he has no idea what this means. He's asking around, nobody knows what it means, and somehow or other, it seems really improbable, he finds out that Joseph has been interpreting people's dreams in prison, and he knows what dreams mean. So the Pharaoh asks Joseph what it means, and he says, this means there's going to be 7 good years, 7 years of good harvest, and then 7 years of bad harvest. And so you should store grain to feed the Egyptian population. So the Pharaoh does this, and of course he's a hero Pharaoh because he saved the Egyptians from this devastating famine, and all the countries around him suffered from it. So anyway, that story is not the modern world. Right now there's about 60 days, 60 days of storage of grain on the planet. And there's only enough food to feed everybody on the planet for 60 days if you stop growing new food. So if there's not agriculture going on in 60 days, people are starving to death. And there's not much you can do about it. The same thing is people don't realize how cities work. In most cities, there's enough food in the city for less than a week of supporting people without new transport into the city. So you can imagine in a war, that transportation is going to stop. You're not going to have oil refineries running. You're not going to be power. The temperature is going to drop. It's going to be cold. And, there's not going to be anything to eat pretty soon because the people that survive will only have food for a short period of time. Yeah. And we see this happening. This happened in Boulder about 10 years ago now. There was a winter storm near Christmas. And my wife, of course, had paid no attention to my comments about nuclear winter before that. But pretty soon, after a couple of days, nobody could get in, and all the supermarkets were empty, and our relatives couldn't come for Christmas. And, so that was a vivid illustration of this actual food supply problem. And, same thing happened in Seattle about the same time, and the mayor got fired because people were running out of food.
Hey guys, this is a quick reminder to check out AUXORO Premium, the best deal in premium podcasting. On AUXORO Premium, you gain access to bonus episodes, the Unlicensed Therapy series, the ability to submit topic suggestions for the podcast, exclusive Ask Me Anything episodes, and the entire premium catalog for only $5 per month. Go to auxoro.supercast.com, that's AUXORO.supercast.com, to join the premium gang today.